and the northeastern states of India. Will India now finally raise concerns with Dhaka? UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer pledges significant drop in migration. In fact, there's a clampdown that is likely to affect Indian students and Indian care workers. Donald Trump begins his three-nation Middle East trip, starts with Saudi Arabia, first trip in his second term. BlackRock and Tesla are some of the key CEOs that flank Donald Trump on his visit. And India considers counter levies on American goods, notifies the WTO of its plans to counter US steel duties. Could be a setback in the trade talks between New Delhi and Washington. Welcome to our first story, our top story on the show. The new normal that Prime Minister Modi has now identified for India. And in fact, Operation Sindoor has now put in motion the new normal for India going forward. And I'm going to put those 5 important signs that define the new normal for India. In fact, let's put that out if we have. The first, in terms of the shift that has taken place for India's fight against terror. The first one being that India will retaliate to terror on its own terms. Now, what does this mean? It means that if there is a strike, we will respond. It means that it doesn't need to be in any particular fashion. It can be a place of our choosing, the timing of our choosing, and also the flank of our choosing, which means what border, what time, what options is something that India will decide, and that's the new normal that has been identified. Let's move ahead. The other key, the new normals that Prime Minister Modi has put forth. Talks only on terrorism in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. There's been a lot of clamour, a lot of chatter about whether India should talk to Pakistan. Well, it has now been decided, and that framework has been put in place. Yes, there will be talks, but only and only on these 2 factors. Terrorism that Pakistan continues to harbour, and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, a territory that belongs to India, that continues to be occupied by Pakistan. Those are the 2 broad and only contours under which talks will take place. The third normal that has been identified, no tolerance for the nuclear blackmail. Now, since the 80s, ever since Pakistan did manage to get itself a nuclear weapon, all that has been going on is that India needs to be the responsible power. Why? Because the deterrence is something that India is expected to exercise, restraint, responsibility. As Pakistan continues to now blackmail. For decades it has done so, and that's a bluff that has been called out now. That's the new normal, that nuclear blackmail will not deter India, and it will not succumb to the nuclear blackmail by Pakistan. The other key normal that we have identified, no distinction between terrorists and their sponsors. That's very important, not only because of the pictures that have been going around, but it shows senior Pakistani generals being part of janazas of the terrorists of Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba. Not just because of that, but because Pakistani funds and the state funds are used for the infrastructure that has come in. One may also talk about whether IMF funds that terrorism or not, or should it be culpable for that or not, simply because those lifelines, the financial helplines that multilateral institutions keep extending to Pakistan are part of the overall financial machinery, which in the end creates those mega terrorist structures. And the last part in terms of the new normal, terror and water won't flow together. What does that mean? The Indus Water Treaty that India has put in abeyance, that the Ministry of External Affairs had just clarified again that it will remain in abeyance. There will now have to be negotiations, not now, but they will take place if India decides to do so, when it decides to do so. But till then, it's very clear, terrorism and water cannot flow together. Pakistan needs to now decide for itself which side of the aisle it wants to sit on, terrorism or the government that actually now talks about its people. I'm going to play out this important soundbite of Prime Minister Modi. He was today at the Adapur base station where he spoke about the Operation Sindoor, its achievements, and of course the message that he once again gave to Pakistan. Listen in.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर भारत का न्यू नॉर्मल है। और जैसा मैंने कल भी कहा, भारत ने अब 3 सूत्र तय कर दिए हैं। पहला, भारत पर आतंकी हमला हुआ, हम अपने तरीके से, अपनी शर्तों पर, अपने समय पर जवाब देंगे। दूसरा, कोई भी न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल भारत नहीं सहेगा। तीसरा, हम आतंक की सरपरस्त सरकार और आतंक के आकाओं को अलग अलग नहीं देखेंगे।
Viewers, the bottom line is that a doctrine has risen. One forged in fire, carved by resolve. Prime Minister Modi didn't just address the nation, he redrew the map of India's intent. The 5 doctrines with one key message: retaliation on India's terms, no fear of nuclear bluffs, no distinction between the trigger and the hand that funds it. Modi didn't warn, he vowed. Not reaction, redefinition. Not diplomacy, doctrine. Operation Sindoor isn't just a mission, it's a manifesto. Pakistan is on notice. The world has been shown. India has changed permanently. I'm going to now turn attention to Bangladesh, where the interim chief advisor, Mohammad Yunus, is attempting to rewrite geography. At least that's what his attempt is, and that's what his poor messaging is. And I'll tell you why I say that and connect the dots, viewers. In March, Chief Advisor Yunus said India's 7 northeastern states are landlocked and have no way to reach the ocean except through Bangladesh. Then on 29th of April, Fazlur Rahman, former chief of Border Bangladesh, in fact the border force, like the BSF in India, suggested that Bangladesh needs to start discussing a joint military statement and system with China, and says that if at all India attacked Pakistan, then it needs to capture northeastern states. And now you have Yunus talking about a trade pact with Nepal, Bhutan and 7 northeastern states of India during a meeting with Nepal's Deputy Speaker Indira Rana. Not 7 northeastern states of India, just 7 sisters. That is what he mentioned, as if they are on their own, as if they're not part of India. Well, what Yunus is trying to do is he is trying to create some sort of a wedge, some sort of an optics. But what he's failing to understand is that he is undermining Bangladesh's ties with New Delhi even further. The messaging that he is trying to send is just that he's meddling with India's sovereignty. And one misstatement at a time is what it's going. India's northeast is not up for negotiation, Mr. Yunus. What is, map checking might very well be in order for you. And as we debate this, I'm going to put out the big questions as always on your screens. First up, Yunus eyes provocation over reform. It's much tougher to reform. It's much tougher to put forth a democratic plan in place. It's far easier to provoke. And that's exactly what he seems to be doing. But I'm going to also ask then, what's really behind these repeated threats and statements about India's northeastern states? They are India's northeastern states. Mohammad Yunus can keep daydreaming or whatever he's doing. The third key question, will India raise these concerns? Because as I said, there's now a pattern. There's not a single instance. There are 3 of those that I highlighted for you in the last 3 months. And then finally, Yunus is distracting from, once again, the poll format, the poll reform that everybody wants, from the opposition to those parties who helped prop up Mohammad Yunus in power. They want polls. And is this yet another distraction towards that? Let me quickly now get in Ali Ahmed Mabroor, who's a senior journalist, joining me from, he's with the Bangladesh News editor Asian Views, and Dr. Suresh Goel, who's a former ambassador. Let me start with the voice coming in from Dhaka, just to sort of ensure that I give enough time. Mr. Mabroor, I pointed out there is not a single instance, but there are 3 such instances in the last 3 months. Clearly, there is a pattern to this, that Bangladesh is trying to put forth this narrative about India's northeastern states. Why?
Thank you so much for inviting me in the program. First of all, we have a different observations. We have a different observations, and as you were drawing the conclusion and as you're making the final remarks, we do have a certain different views. You know what happened yesterday? The visiting Deputy Speaker of the House of Representative of Nepalese Parliament, Ms. Indira Rana, who is visiting now Dhaka to attend an event
I've
organized
lost
by
his voice.
Nepal's embassy in Dhaka.
I can't
He
hear
has
him.
meant he has met our chief advisor of the interim government, Professor Yunus, and they discussed many issues related to their bilateral interest. They also shared many ideas. They have chalked out many proposals. And at one point of the meeting, they have talked about for integrated economic plan for Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, and also for seven northeastern states of India. And they also talked about improving the status of hydropower, the health issues, and road connectivity. As you know that this country, like Bangladesh, we are limited land with huge number of population. We do have certain issues and problems. So as Nepal and Bhutan, and so we believe in from our government perspective, it is our option to make a good collaboration with the neighboring countries in particularly with based on cross-border collaboration and others. And you know that in last October, India, Bangladesh, and Nepal both have signed an agreement to import 40 megawatt of hydropower from Nepal, and now they are looking for to make it something in the bigger scale. That's the issue.
No, you've pointed out what this project is all about, but I had a very simple question. I'm going to put that out to Dr. Goyal as well, which is that is there an effort, Dr. Goyal, to try and put out the northeastern states of India in a separate light? That's what Bangladesh has been trying to do. I pointed out three such instances, two by Mohammad Yunus and one by the head of the border guard Bangladesh force, saying how the northeast of India, of course, could be the gateway for China and Bangladesh to come together against India. In so many words, I'm paraphrasing. But the point is, why is it an effort being made to repeatedly target India's northeastern states? Dr. Goyal.
Okay, if the question is addressed to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be charitable simply because Bangladesh, if we recall, became an independent country with active support from India in 1975, and 1971. I'm sorry, and we all remember it really. We have had excellent relations with Bangladesh all throughout. It's not only basically because of the history, but because even today, culturally, Bangladesh is not Islamic. Bangladesh is Bengal. Bangladesh is Bengali, Durga Puja, etc., the kind of weaving traditions and everything. And therefore, I have a bit of a weak corner for Bangladesh simply because culturally, and I've been there several times at ICCR, and culturally, I do feel empathy for Bangladesh. Therefore, number one, I would like to ascribe what Yunus said in terms of cooperation between Nepal, Bhutan, and the Seven Sisters to ignorance, really. Because obviously, if he knew India better, he would know that the subjects like trade, international cooperation, international economic issues are conducted through center. And the center, this is part of the central relations and not directly with the states. Therefore, I will leave it to really there. I do not want to really think of anything more nefarious than this for the time being, as far as this statement is concerned. But other two statements which have come before clearly point out to a very nefarious kind of a design from Bangladesh, where they want to get together with India's enemies. And when I say India's enemy, I'm referring to China. China has emerged as a clear enemy for India.
Yes.
Get together with China to break up India's territory.
Yes.
I mean, is that what Bangladesh thinks about? Then Bangladesh is seriously are mistaken. I mean, they know what can happen to them if they even try to do it.
Absolutely.
And I believe it there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I believe it here. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll leave it there. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me on that very important story that I'm going to keep coming back to in the next couple of days. On that note, a quick break. I come back on the other side. Up next, UK's crackdown as far as immigrants are concerned. How much will this impact Indian students and workers? We come back and decode.
As a dad, I know life's unpredictable. It's all fun and games until it's not.
You okay?
I want my kids to always be looked after. That's why I'm not putting things off anymore and protecting the life we've built by calling Smart Insurance.
Hi, how can I help?
Hi, I'd like a quick quote, please.
Okay, you can choose a benefit amount up to £750,000 depending on your age.
Brilliant.
If you're a UK resident aged 18 to 64, you can apply with just a few health and lifestyle questions. For £250,000 of cover, the price starts at just £14.77 a month.
That's less than I thought. And could help my wife pay off the mortgage.
With our Smart Family Guarantee, you'll have peace of mind.
That's good to know.
You'll also receive a 100% advance in the event of terminal illness. And 10% cashback on your first year's premiums. That's the Smart Cashback. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Protect the life you've built the smart way. To get a free life insurance quote today, call our specialist UK team on 0800 977 6797 or visit smartinsurance.co.uk.
This is an important message for people living with diabetes, from people living with diabetes.
When I was experiencing the symptoms of diabetes, I didn't know what was going on.
You go on the internet and it's full of horror stories.
I didn't understand about carbs, I didn't understand about blood glucose levels.
That's why the support I get as a Diabetes UK member is so important.
You can become a Diabetes UK member for just £3 a month. When you do, you'll receive a practical guide specific to your type of diabetes and a copy of Balance magazine 4 times a year. Plus, you'll help support research that could lead to better treatments for all types of diabetes.
As members, we're all working it out together.
Call 0800 144 5410 or go online to become a Diabetes UK member for just £3 a month. Join us now because membership can help you learn to live better with diabetes.
It's great to be helping out before my first grandchild arrives. And after having a few repairs myself, I need to make sure they'll all be protected. Which reminds me.
Welcome to British Seniors, the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote.
No problem. We're proud to offer our seniors lifetime guarantee. With 100% of claims having been paid, we guarantee your premiums will never go up and that you'll speak to one of our specialists in the UK. UK residents aged 50 to 80 are guaranteed to be accepted. Depending on your age, your loved ones can get a cash payout up to £10,000.
Wow, that money could help with funeral costs or as a gift for my grandkid. I'll do it.
Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive a £135 gift card and free 24/7 GP advice and health services.
He's going to be named after his granddad.
Be proud to protect your loved ones with British Seniors. To get a free quote today, call our UK team on 0800 470 4444 or visit britishseniors.co.uk.
Viewers, for thousands of Indian students and skilled workers, the dream of UK may be dimming. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has unveiled plans to ban recruitment of care workers from overseas, tighten access to skilled worker visas and raise the costs to employers in an effort to curb near record net migration that UK has been witnessing. And post-study visas have also been cut, coupled with a 10-year wait when it comes to settlement. Many now ask, is the UK still worth it? As Prime Minister Starmer vows to cut the numbers, Indians who built Britain's hospitals and fill its lecture halls stand in limbo. For the UK, it's control, when for thousands of Indians, it's actually confusion and a future that's uncertain. In fact, let me quickly now first play out this very short bite of Keir Starmer. We come back and open this up with the big questions.
These rules become even of strangers, not a nation that walks forward together.
Okay, so he doesn't want it to become an island of strangers, but what does this mean? What is exactly the kind of impact? I want to put forth those big questions quickly on our screens. What does this mean? Is Starmer under pressure from Nigel Farage's growing popularity? Remember, it's the right that's rising. And is this one of this reaction? Second, what does the ban on social workers really mean for Indians? What is the kind of impact for Indian students? Are they caught in the political crossfire? And lastly, the biggest question, will Starmer actually be able to stop the boats? Let's quickly open this up. We've got a bunch of students from the UK. Sanam Arora also joins us. Let me quickly then get in all the students. Prajwala is there is Atul, and there is Darshan as well. To all three of you, in fact, I have the same question, which is the kind of impact that you are seeing of this, this change that has come in. Let me start with you, Darshan. What do you think is the kind of impact that is likely to be felt by Indian students?
Thank you for having me. As a former international student in the UK, I welcome the government's decision to maintain the graduate route. However, current and prospective students are deeply concerned about the decision to reduce its duration to 18 months. This policy change comes at a time when international students already face significant challenges, including lack of clarity around the definition of graduate level jobs. Such uncertainties can undermine their ability to fully leverage their UK education and skills in the job market. So I strongly advocate for greater clarity, fairness, and a collaborative approach across the sector. International students are a contributor to UK's economy, and the policies must recognize and reflect these values. Myself, having studied and worked at University of East London, I've seen firsthand how UK education shapes and transforms international students. At UEL, we're proud to say that 1 in 20 Indian students coming to the UK higher education chooses our university. So such contributions are the importance of international students, and they should be recognized, and the policies should be safeguarded, and there should be fair and transparent policies in the educational ecosystem. Thank you.
How much do these policies impact? What's the intransparency part that Darshan was referring to? This uncertainty. Prajwala?
So I totally agree with Darshan. We have already had some employment challenges here, and there is some financial strain as well, to mention it. And it has always been like this since I came here. So I think I just need to approach this in an optimistic note. And as long as we are talented and skilled, I think there will be opportunities for students. And we have to approach it without panicking, because you never know what is going to happen.
Atul?
So can you repeat your question again? I couldn't hear you before.
Atul? Go ahead.
Hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you please repeat your question again? I couldn't hear you before. Sorry.
I'm saying how bad is the impact of these change rules?
I think the devil is in details. We don't have enough. Yes, I think we don't have enough information about a lot of things. For example, the 18-month change in the graduate visa, when will it going to be implemented? And the changes in the settlement scheme, when will it going to be implemented, and how it will impact everybody who are currently in the system. And that's why many people who are currently on their skilled worker route are very much upset, because their goalpost has been suddenly changed from 5 years to 10 years. So while there's a lot of details in the papers from the white paper from the UK government, but I think there's a lot more that's yet to come, and that uncertainty is very problematic for a number of students.
Sanam, let me then ask you in terms of the changes that have been made for the graduate route as well. That's reduced the number of years, that the time period has reduced. How much do you think that's going to be an impact for students?
Look, I think any change, and we've been advocating for the graduate route for a very long time. In fact, we ran a 7-year-long campaign to bring this route to the UK in the first place. Any change that is reductionist in nature, even if it is a 25% fall, as it is in this case, from 2 years to 18 months, will have an impact. In 2012, when the post-study work visa was first taken away, we saw about 70% fall in the numbers of Indians coming to the UK. My team is doing the numbers, but we anticipate that if the changes are not properly communicated, and if they're not properly disseminated, information is not urgently properly disseminated, then we think about a 15 to 25% fall in the numbers choosing to come to the UK is possible. Having said that, there are a lot of variables and factors that impact the overall situation, and I do feel quite strongly that looking at everything around us, looking at what's happening in the US, looking at other countries, and the fact that there aren't very many countries which have the capacity to be able to take the numbers of Indian students that want to study abroad with the right quality, I don't think students who want to go abroad honestly have that many options if they're looking for genuinely quality information. So I think the impact can be mitigated, but my first gut instinct is to say we'll see between 15 to 25% fall, depending on the extent to which the changes are properly communicated.
25% fall on the higher side could be very, very steep, something that Mr. Starmer may not have budgeted for. Thank you so much. I'm running out of time, and it seems so are some of those Indian students as well. A quick break, more on the other side.
Whatever you need to ask about cancer, Macmillan's free support line is just a call away.
Hello, Macmillan.
Whether it's money...
Am I going to lose my job?
Getting on with life.
Can I still go abroad? Get insurance?
Or just need someone to listen.
How do I tell them?
Our specialist advisors are here to help as often as you need them. Whatever you need to ask, cancer, money, life, call us now on 0808 134 1000.
Whether you're setting up a new nest, starting your own flock, or they just keep on growing, get more time to pay with VeryPay. You can buy now and pay up to 12 months later, and pay no interest, with nothing to pay at checkout. And you can easily keep track of payments in the Very app. More time to pay with VeryPay.
No child should suffer the torture of trachoma, but so many are in pain right now. Nananga's lashes have turned inwards. They rip and tear away at his eyes. Pomelo's sight could be gone forever. He's just 3 years old. Kofanga screams for his mother. His eyes are so infected that he can't even see her. For so many children in the world's poorest countries, trachoma is torture. It's a painful infection often spread by flies, and it's destroying children's eyesight. But it could be stopped if you help today. By calling 0800 038 4926 and giving £1 a week to Sightsavers, you can help make sure children get the treatment they desperately need. You'll help us bring them the medicines and the care that can treat infections. And that means you'll be helping to save children from the torture of trachoma and a life of blindness. Please help us reach them. Call 0800 038 4926. Text C13 to 82727 or go online and give just £1 a week now. Because we need you to help save the sight of children like Nananga. We need you to help save them from the torture of trachoma.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
Trump's desert diplomacy. Well, viewers, with fighter jets overhead and golden carpets rolled out, Donald Trump touched down in Riyadh to kick off a high-stakes 4-day tour of the Middle East. First, it's going to be the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, followed by Qatar and the UAE. That will be on the agenda. Well, it's going to be all about deals. And he wants, in his words, big ones. Investment, weapons, and of course, influence. Elon Musk, Nvidia's leadership, and Trump's top aides have joined him for a lunch at the royal court as rumors swirl of a $100 billion arms package. But absent from all this trip and this grand presentation is Israel. And that silence, viewers, is loud. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu watches from the sidelines again as Trump bypasses Jerusalem and presses Gulf leaders on Gaza ceasefires, hostage deals without Netanyahu. But that's not all. There is a lot more to it, and he calls this a new vision for the region. But critics call it a policy of surprises, one that may be reshaping alliances with, of course, Netanyahu left in the cold, with diplomacy getting a second and probably even a raw end of the deal, with economics and business really trumping everything else. And which is why the quick questions that we are asking, I'm going to put forth to our guests as well. First up, which business deals does Trump hope that he can actually ink in this entire trip? Remember, there are 3 countries and at least 20 deals on the table. Which are those that could actually be the ones that will see fruition? Next, is this trip really all about business with very little as far as diplomacy is concerned, which is why the delegation also seems to be swinging completely towards the business side. Third, and most importantly, what message is Trump sending to American allies by choosing Saudi Arabia as the first country where he is visiting as a state, his first state visit in his second term? What is that message to the entire American ally ecosystem? And lastly, will Trump push for some sort of a Saudi-Israel deal? It may not be the Abraham Accord. What shape could that be? Is there any such deal that could be on the table? Joining me from Abu Dhabi is Dr. Asif Iqbal, who's the president of the Indian Economic Trade Organization. And there's also Daniel Silverberg, who's the director for Capstone, a global consultancy, and he's also at the CNAS. And in fact, Daniel, let me start with you on this. There's been a lot of expectations as far as President Trump's visit is concerned, but it seems all those expectations are primarily on the business side.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I actually would quibble with the distinction between business objectives and diplomacy objectives. What we see here, similar to the IMEC announcement by the Biden administration in September 2023, good business is good diplomacy. And in this instance, President Trump is aiming for the stars, particularly in the AI microprocessor chips context. Don't underestimate the significance of Trump very likely inking a deal with the Saudis and with the Emiratis for massive exports of NVIDIA and Microsoft technologies for G42 and data center construction. This is massive. This is something that elements of the Biden administration wanted to get done, and they couldn't in the capacity that they wanted because of internal fights. President Trump is going to get that done. It is great for American business. It is driven primarily by a desire to get China out of the region. That is an animating principle from the Biden administration, continuing through the Trump administration. That is going to be probably the most tangible gain from this trip.
Okay, so you think that this would allow America to gain a foothold in the region, and it would ensure that it is able to at least elbow out some of the space that China has right now. China is one of the largest trading partners of most of these countries, whether it's UAE, Saudi and others, at a time when, of course, they continue to have defense bases of the US. And I think that's the whole tricky part of this relationship, isn't it? But Daniel, then let me also ask you this. What, according to you, could be the big wins that President Trump should be looking to get out of this? It could be across the board, but what, according to you, could be those big 3 wins that he would like when he goes back to his domestic audience?
Sure. First, let me be clear. Trump has already achieved a victory of sorts by going to Saudi and UAE and cementing this relationship. And in my view, he is very much building on initiatives from the Biden administration. The Biden team essentially hammered out a normalization deal between the Saudis and Israel, and they also, based on public reporting, pretty much nailed down the details of a US-Saudi treaty. So Trump is really capitalizing on what the Biden team had started. But what victory here is going to look like is threefold. Number one, getting this CHIPS deal done. I'm confident it's going to be announced. And what that will do is tighten the connections in key technologies between the UAE and Saudi and the United States. They are going to be relying on US companies to drive G42 and data centers rather than the Chinese. That's first. Second, I do expect a number of defense deals to be inked. What those actually produce, that always remains a question. There's always a lot of hype around these announcements. Let's see what actually gets produced. Third, and this is most relevant for India and for key businesses in India and infrastructure. The one thing that President Trump has continued from the Biden administration is a passion for global infrastructure development. This is called the PGI. This is IMEC from September 2023. Expect major infrastructure deals ranging from critical minerals to Saudi and UAE investment in global infrastructure to again strengthen the US hand to combat Chinese economic influence in the region and around the world and further enhance partnerships with the United States. This is going to be IMEC hopefully on steroids.
Okay, that's a very optimistic, positive note in terms of how to evaluate this. Dr. Asif, you want to come in there in terms of what could be the big business outcomes of this?
Well, I believe that the outcome of this would be more of a personal, a business, family, a business intersect, which is in this Gulf tour for Trump. Considering the fact that he has left European countries, Canada, Mexico, but he's landing as an official for the first time in the Middle East, and the officials who are accompanying him and the delegation that is accompanying him consists of all the top industrialists and the top people who are into the economic diplomacy and who are playing a very important role. Like, for example, the BlackRock CEO is there, the White House, the crypto czar is there, the Northrop Grumman CEO is there, Lockheed Martin, they are there, and IBM is there. So we have all these people accompanying him, and we also have to see if Saudi Arabia is going to place an order for the F-35s or F-16. So that's something that is remaining. And also it shouldn't look like, it's a one-sided outward investment by the Saudi Arabia. They are looking at themselves as one of the world's topmost center for, arbitration and these kind of peaceful dialogues that they are doing, and their ceasefire efforts, in putting together. And also the fact that Israel, the Abraham Accords did not include Saudi Arabia. So hopefully that could be one of the, discussions that Trump might be having.
Okay, so let's see as to which of those actually turn out. Of course, there is the diplomatic side of it, the geopolitical side of it, and the economic side to it. There are some talks that President Trump may in fact hop across and also go to Istanbul for the Russia-Ukraine peace talks, if at all they happen. But I want to come back, Stephen, and ask you, Daniel, ask you about after Saudi Arabia, he then of course goes to Qatar, where it will be very important from the Hamas-Gaza point of view, the ceasefire discussion point of view. But how important and significant is the fact that he's not having a stopover at Tel Aviv?
I frankly don't read that much into it. This trip is primarily Gulf focused. There's always a lot of noise put on potential tensions between the US and Israel. I would not make that much of it. However, it does strike me as pretty clear that President Trump wants the Gaza war to be over. And this is where President Trump's interests and those of Prime Minister Netanyahu quite likely diverge. President Trump wants all of the hostages out. He wants a ceasefire reached. That might not be in Prime Minister Netanyahu's immediate interest. And bear in mind as well, overarching all of this is that there are potential we know there are Iran negotiations happening. There's a potential Iran deal in the offing. And that's something that also concerns Prime Minister Netanyahu and plays into the Israel-US dynamic. So bottom line, don't read a lot into the fact that he's not going to Israel. However, no question President Trump wants to be supporting things like Saudi Vision 2030, involved in the economic vibrancy of the Middle East and partners like UAE and Saudi. He does not want the U.S. enmeshed in a Gaza war. He wants that over.
Indeed. Quick closing comments from you, Asif.
Yes, I believe that Qatar, which shows the largest US military base in the region with approximately 10,000 US troops, will like to showcase itself, and especially after the 2022 World Cup, their economy has not been doing very well. And the good thing is, a good sign of it was the release of one of the American-Israeli hostage, Eden Alexander, just before the Trump took off his flight to Middle East. So that was initiated by Qatar, and I believe that Qatar is playing a very important role when it comes to this particular aspect of playing an important role in this region.
All right, let's leave it there, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to keep coming back to this story through the course of the week. Well, bottom line, viewers, as far as President Trump's visit is concerned, well, he does want some important wins, some key wins that he would be looking out for the entire region. First up, he would want Turkey to recognize the sovereignty of Syria, something that could really change the game. And also from a US-Russia point of view relationship, it will have an impact. Second, he would want a Saudi Arabia-Israel deal to happen, some sort of an arrangement, engagement that sort of ensures that the two sides recognize each other. And even if it's not the Abraham Accords, it's a starter, it's a move towards the front. Third, he would want big-ticket mega investments, whether it is in the field of aviation orders, whether it is in semiconductors, AI, defense orders. He would want bucket loads of this to take back to his domestic audience and say that, see, my plan of economic strategy is working, my big trade plan is working, and that gamble has paid off. It's important for President Trump and his constituency back home. And lastly, the one win that he would desperately like to see is to have some sort of a ceasefire arrangement between Israel and Hamas, because that would ensure that he's able to at least end one out of the two wars that he said that he would end in 24 hours. On that note, I'm going to slip into a short break. Well, up next, India notifies the World Trading Organization of its plans to counter American steel duties. What does it mean? We come back and decode.
For such gentle souls, working donkeys in the Middle East lead terribly hard lives. For such trusting animals, donkeys are too often abused and exploited. These sensitive, loyal animals often suffer the cruelest pain. This is the hard, painful life that donkeys in Egypt, the West Bank, Israel, and Gaza have to endure. Too often, it's not only a hard life, it is also a short one. But there is something you can do to make their hard lives much easier. Please call Safe Haven for Donkeys on 0800 144 5802 or go online and give a life-saving gift of just £2 a month. Safe Haven for Donkeys is dedicated to transforming lives in the region. Your gift means our mobile vet clinics can provide emergency treatment for injured donkeys. We heal wounds and ensure donkeys aren't suffering. We also work with local communities, helping them to look after and cherish their donkeys. You'll help make sure there's always a place at our sanctuaries for abandoned and abused donkeys who have nowhere else to turn. Please call 0800 144 5802, text SAFE4 to 84902, go online or scan the QR code and give just £2 a month and help change a donkey's life today.
It feels good knowing that your future's in hand. Evlo can offer you a loan from £1,000 to £15,000, whether it's for home improvements, new appliances, a car, or for some of life's big moments. So even if you've had problems with credit before, Evlo looks beyond your credit score and always takes a case-by-case approach. Visit evlo.co.uk to get your conditional decision in minutes. Evlo, your future in your hands.
When I woke up, they said, Alyssa, you've got leukemia. We found out that the chemo wasn't working.
Cancer is still the biggest killer of children in the UK, but innovative new treatments could help beat cancer for more children like Alyssa.
I'm cancer-free now.
Text, call or search to give £3 a month and help build a new children's cancer centre at Great Ormond Street Hospital. So together we can save more lives.
Don't miss Sharp's half-price spring savings. Get Sharp's bespoke fitted furniture for every room, from living spaces to home offices and bedrooms. Many ranges are now half price, including our must-have Manhattan range. Our exclusive Space Plus system means we won't be beaten on space. Plus, you get our 15-year guarantee for total peace of mind. Refresh your home with Sharps this spring. Book your free home design visit today at sharps.co.uk.
Amidst ongoing negotiations to reach a trade pact, India with the United States, India has formally notified the World Trade Organization of its plans to impose retaliatory tariffs on the United States. And these products are specifically for steel and aluminium. This is in response to the tariffs that Washington levied. Remember, there was the Liberation Day tariffs, and since then, there have been duties that have been imposed on Indian steel and aluminium, something that New Delhi has countered, gone to the WTO. Now, the move could take effect as early as next month and could see New Delhi raising tariffs on a range of US origin products, aiming to recover about a little under $2 billion in duties. But what does this mean in terms of the trading relationship between the two sides? We get that answer from Rahul Ahluwalia, who's a founder director of Foundation for Economic Development and was formerly with the Niti Aayog. Well, Rahul, I want to ask you that you seem to be in the fast lane. What about the India-US trade talks? Are they also now going to be in the fast lane, or will this be a road bump?
Definitely a road bump, Gaurie. I think this is bad news. So far, I think the Indian strategy on trade negotiations has been quite smart. I've said it before on your show, I believe, that I think that we've been playing it very cleverly by not opposing Trump publicly, by not opposing the tariffs publicly. It seems to me that we are displeased with the US, I think for obvious reasons. The way the US has handled the India-Pakistan conflict recently has not been something that we're happy with. And it appears to me from the outside that these retaliatory tariffs are a response to the US behavior on geopolitics, not on tariffs, because on tariffs...
That it is the geopolitical factors that are having an impact on the trade ties right now, and that could also mean that the outlook may change as well.
Yeah, that's my reading of it, and honestly, like I said, it's bad news because I think the US is a very, very important trading and strategic partner for us, and ideally we would like to strike a bilateral trade deal with the US as quickly as possible. This is a big opportunity for India.
So it's a not so subtle messaging as far as New Delhi is concerned, not so subtle messaging given all that happened in this week itself. And also, do you think that this would derail talks? Because, you know, the Trump administration views relationships, all relationships, through the prism of trade, don't they? Economic relations are the gateway to everything else. Do you see the long talked about in the works trade pact getting impacted because of this move?
I hope it doesn't, right? So I think quite often in trade negotiations, parties take different steps, and hopefully this is just one of those steps that gets taken, which the US and India can shove off. So the US and China have recently announced a semi-deal, even though China had levied substantial retaliatory tariffs against the US. So I'm hoping that this will not be a problem. I'm hoping this will be a road bump, as you mentioned, rather than a barrier.
So this could be, of course, trade barriers being talked about. This will go all the way to the WTO. But for the benefit of our viewers, let's understand WTO is a consensus-led body. It's not like some major actions can be taken by the WTO. Its dispute resolution mechanism has also been broken down for the last 5 years, at least before COVID. So at least in the last couple of years, dispute resolution hasn't really progressed. In the backdrop of that, what do you think Rahul, the government is really trying to achieve here? Of course, you're trying to protect your industry. That's what whole duties concept is all about. But do you think there's a larger message here, as you are saying? And what is the kind of objective it's looking to achieve?
Yeah, that's a very astute question, Gaurie, and I think it is very much a signaling move, hopefully, rather than an actual attempt to impose duties. So you're very right. The WTO mechanism has not been particularly effective for the last many years now. The US itself has contributed to the breaking down of the WTO multilateral mechanism. And any action being taken via the WTO is hopefully just a signal that India is displeased. India does not appreciate the way the US has sort of behaved in the recent conflict. And I think it would be great if both sides leave it at that and continue to negotiate a bilateral treaty that is beneficial to both parties.
All right, let's leave it there, Rahul. Thanks much for joining us on a story that has many legs, one being economy, the other being the political messaging that is there. All of that, of course, weaving into the India-US relationship. It's strong, it's robust. Trade ties are strong, they are being discussed. But what happens in the wake of these measures that have been taken? This could just be signaling by India, but it may have an impact on trade talks that are ongoing. All right, shifting focus now, two Indian students, Saurabh Prabhakar and Manav Patel, have died in a car crash in Pennsylvania. The Cleveland State University students were killed when their vehicle struck a tree and a bridge on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. The Indian consulate in New York has expressed condolences and is assisting their families. A third passenger was injured and remains hospitalized. Eden Alexander, the last known living American hostage in Gaza, was released by Hamas and was reunited with his family on Monday, ending, believe it or not, a 19-month ordeal that began with the terrorist group's October 7th attack in 2023. That's how long Alexander was in captivity, and the remaining others remain there. Hamas announced on Sunday night it had agreed to free Alexander after several days of talks with the United States, which bypassed Israel and formed part of an effort to reach some sort of a ceasefire, resume the flow of humanitarian aid, and possibly ensure that the hostages are released. Why is this happening? Well, it's happening because the second leg of President Trump's three-nation tour in the Middle East is Qatar. Qatar is the link, the mediation that is taking place between the West and Hamas has been through Qatar. So to ensure that that trip actually happens smoothly, this hostage was freed. Alexander was freed. But what about the others? Well, hopefully some of that will come up in the conversation that President Trump will have with his counterparts in Qatar. When ICC prosecutor Karim Khan shocked the world by seeking an arrest warrant for Israeli leaders, he said it was justice. But was it something else? A senior Western diplomat has told the Jerusalem Post that Khan's goal wasn't law, it was actually pressure. Pressure to make the West turn on Israel, and then the timeline unravels. He claimed neutrality, yet by March he had allegedly made up his mind before hearing Israel's case, before visiting Gaza, before telling US senators otherwise. And as allegations of sexual assault surface, questions mount. Was the prosecutor's announcement time to shield himself? Karim Khan says it's all coincidence. Critics call it actually cover. The stakes, well, not just reputations, but global justice is at stake. Ukrainian President Zelensky is calling for an unprecedented face-to-face with Vladimir Putin in Istanbul this Thursday, and he wants Donald Trump there too. Zelensky threw his support behind Trump's call for an unconditional ceasefire, saying it's time for direct talks and diplomacy. And bold moves, we can change a lot, is what Zelensky said, urging Trump to attend the meeting, which remains shrouded in uncertainty. Putin, who proposed these talks in Turkey, is yet to confirm his attendance, is what some reports suggest. And Trump, well, he is on a trip in Middle East, and he could hop across from the UAE to Istanbul before the summit's clock runs out. Trump said he's considering a last-minute trip, calling the summit a critical opportunity to stop the war. 3 presidents, 1 war, and a Thursday deadline in Istanbul that could change the course of history or, who knows, deepen the divide. As we wrap things up, well, Cannes 2025 opens with a captivating theme, viewers: lights, beauty and action. Indian and international stars are set to grace the world's most iconic red carpet, and that includes Alia Bhatt. She'll be making her Cannes debut as L'Oreal's global brand ambassador. Aishwarya Rai, often called the queen of the festival, will walk the carpet after May 20th. Janhvi Kapoor and Ishan Khattar are also expected to debut with their film Homebound, premiering globally at this festival. For decency reasons, nudity has been prohibited at the Cannes premieres. With that, it's a wrap. Thanks so much for watching.
Some people think life slows down in your 50s, but I'm just getting started and there's so much that I want to do. And yeah, I'll be retiring in a few years, so it makes sense to plan ahead. That's why I decided to learn more about over 50s life insurance from Cover Today. I know my lot don't need the money, but it's nice to leave a little something to help with funeral costs and other expenses, so they can spend their money on nicer things.
Cover Today are the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period.
Unlike other insurers who can make you wait up to 2 years, with Cover Today, you're fully covered from day one. And you're covered for the whole of your life, so you can just get on with things. Plus, unlike other things in life, the price never goes up. Their claims process is really straightforward, so your loved ones will be looked after. Learning more couldn't be simpler and can be done in just a few minutes. Go online or talk to their friendly UK team who will chat you through your options in just one phone call. Cover Today are the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period.
Get covered in minutes with no annoying trips to the doctor.
With fixed monthly payments, prices start at just £4.42 a month.
Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
So stop putting it off and get it done. Then you can get on with doing something much more interesting.
To find out more about Cover Today, call our friendly UK team on 0800 542 1004 or visit covertoday.co.uk.
I urgently need to ask for your help on behalf of animals at risk right now. With the pandemic came a surge in pet ownership. And sadly, we're now seeing a serious rise in neglect, cruelty and abuse. Our services are being stretched to the limit. To make matters worse, our costs are soaring too. But we refuse to let animals suffer. So please, act now to help rescue the growing number of animals who've never needed us more. Please call or text the number on screen now to give £2 a month to the RSPCA. In one of the toughest times we have ever experienced, your gift will make all the difference.